AI in medicine and MedTech. Disrupting the industry. How are AI, new data, and big data rattling the changes of medical technologies? Moderated by Nick Eiton, Chainstarter Ventures Limited. With Daehoon Kim, Iritech, Professor Brian Lewinning, Morlan Black, Vincent Ligorio, MIP and Professor at Russian Presidential Academy for National Economy and PA. And Salim Ismail, OpenExo and ExoWorks.
So good afternoon, everybody. We're going to have a little chat with some esteemed experts here about artificial intelligence in the MedTech or the medical healthcare area. And I think we're one down, but so far so good. We've got a fantastic event and glad to see everyone's made the big effort to get here. So, I think we're all pleased to get out of our, home offices. So what I would like to do to start with is baseline where AI and MedTech is. There's a massive technology revolution happening in the medical profession. So we're going to kick off with trying to baseline it, Brian. You and I had a chat about where we think it is right now, and then we'll explore where it's going to be over the next few years. So take it away, Brian.
Oh, thank you, Nick. Yes. Well, first of all, AI. Let's start there. Who has seen real AI? Please, raise your hand. No one. Not even one single person. Right. So this is where we're at. Deep learning, machine learning, self-learning systems. And early stage AI. So we're talking about MedTech, medicine in AI. From my own experience, I broke my back and I got paralyzed in 2006, and there was no, let's say, resolve for it. You should see, I jumped on the stage. So the only thing about me was I was lucky enough to, have the finance to get a team of medical experts in place to find a solution. This is how most of the solutions, also today spoken of, are created by people in need, and then finding something else as the existing solution in place. So when we look at AI in MedTech, there's a lot to say. So I'm very interested in neurology, what the brain can communicate to the rest of the body, and how we can circumvent certain mishaps or missing links, so even in the nervous system. The thing is that if your brain doesn't talk to the legs, then the legs won't move. It sounds so simple, but if anything happens, you're done. You're in a wheelchair, and you can roll up for life. This is the story for 99% of older people. And some who are not in that capacity and have found a solution are speaking on TEDx. So with AI, as I look at it, AI can be very, very much the answer to a lot. Let's start with deep learning and everything like that.
So you're saying it's pretty narrow right now, very specific.
It's very, very specific. And the thing is that we have no people, in fact, to accommodate it at large, right? Because you have to have the understanding of the academia as well as really knowledge about technology.
Yeah.
And the both don't combine a lot these days. So this is the problem. If you find people, well, at first they're really expensive because they know that they're the ones, right? And so every project is under the stress of the talent. I mean, it's in every sector.
So we'll pick that up later. Salim, where do you think AI is right now with Med? Because we've got,
well, the first examples I've seen is really in neurology.
Yeah. Okay, Salim.
So I think there's a spectrum of narrow AI for very specific diagnostic, detecting lung cancer in an imagery type of situation, all the way to we're now starting to do deep learning and deep understanding preservation of the brain with different models. I've actually got a live demo here. This is a pad that a woman would wear to detect breast cancer. And if you see those little dots, those are all temperature sensors. And so if you're a woman, you'd put this on left and right side for 10 minutes at home, take a picture of the resulting thermometer scan. It does a very extensive temperature measurement across that part of the body, And AI analyzes the differential between left and right side, and if you do it every 6 months, the differential from the last time you did it, this turns out to be 80% better at detecting breast cancer than a mammogram. Costs about $30, and it's FDA approved.
So, but that's picking up what?
So
sort
that's
of sensory, real-time sensory data?
It's just picking up, it's doing a very sensitive temperature measurement, and they can infer by temperature differentials across that part of the body if there's breast cancer present.
Wow.
So this is now, and in a COVID era where people can't get mammograms, we can eradicate breast cancer just by giving this to every woman in the world.
Okay.
Because early detection is 99% of the game these days.
Yeah.
And so we're seeing things like this pop up all over the place, all the way to starting to do deep learning on weird analytics and what's happening in the brain. As we start to reverse engineer the brain using AI, things get really interesting.
Yeah. And where do you think we are with AI? What's your...
Okay, so for me, I want to talk about one more issue about the AI and deep learning technology for the medical application. Because of the COVID-19, there is a lot of change of the medical application also. I think telemedicine will be also one of the, very big change after the COVID-19. So now, in my opinion, AI deep learning combined with telemedicine will make a very, very important influence in the future. Okay, so in that sense, for example, telemedicine case, very important thing is we should provide the very lot of information through the telemedicine application systems. For example, MRI, X-ray, such kind of ultrasound imaging, such kind of system also can be sent to the telemedicine. But however, there is also very good application. But however, one of the very big application is I'm also doing a lot of work of the iridology. Iridology is kind of some alternative medicine for the pre-screening of the health by analyzing the iris. Through this information, we can provide a lot of information very easily through some network application. So through this way, AI and the deep learning technology can be applied for the very, effective way of the applications. This is one of my interest areas for the future expect of the medical application after the COVID-19.
Okay, interesting. So look, so we've got a real life experience of Brian, which is, very specific. Salim's outlining, some sensory, sort of real-time sensory opportunities, and obviously you highlighted telemedicine, which is interesting. But let's think about what you said earlier, Brian, that there is a polarization effect, a very narrow focus of AI at the moment. But what's holding it back? I mean, let's explore. You mentioned knowledge and expertise. For me, processing. We've got massive amounts of different rich data sources. Give us your thoughts on, what's holding it back.
I agree. It's processing data. We're collecting a lot of data. So even from the molecular structure of the body, where we see a lot of things we didn't know. We don't understand the human body as well as we think. Right? We find a lot of new things, and we find them because of technology, not because of the human brain. We're enhancing the human brain with technology. So I see a lot of challenge in processing the data and then getting the data back to information that we can transact on.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think, Salim? I mean, there is structured, unstructured, voice, linguistic. There is so much of this stuff. Is that going to hold us back?
Well, I think as we get to exponentially better sensors, we're getting mountains more data. So I think that problem gets solved by the sheer volume of information we have available. I think the thing that's holding us back is really the attitudes. One of the things we've noticed is, for those of you who aren't familiar, if you're familiar with Singularity University, I'm the founding CEO. And we noticed that when you have something very disruptive, the legacy environment can't handle it. So if you have a breakthrough thing like lung cancer detection of using machine learning, the doctors can't cope. And you get this immune system response from the institution, unable to really use it. Today, we're still measuring a human being by heart rate, blood pressure, temperature, maybe glucose levels. Right? We have a dozen more using wearables and sensors, a dozen more data streams that we now can correlate.
So we're getting a different insight, is what you're saying.
I think the issue is more, the issues are old mechanisms for doing things are holding us back. because we're not ready to experiment and certainly not systematize them.
Yeah, yeah. And what do you think? I mean, what's holding us back?
Yeah, okay, so you are talking about the lung cancer, but maybe I think this is some different areas. I'm also working very hardly work with many Korean Oriental medical doctors. By using iridology, lung cancer areas is shown as some mark on the iris, on the some right-hand side and the left-hand side, okay? Okay, so by analyzing such kind of thing, we can have a very easily make some pre-screening of the system. Using AI and the deep learning technology, we can very effectively do this way. But why this method is very effective is we can provide such kind of information very easily through the smartphone or such kind of information. So of course in USA and Dubai, okay, a lot of rich person and the medical system is good. So in that case, you can provide such information through the X-ray or such kind of device. But a lot of third world countries, not easy to provide such information. So if we can easily take such kind of image and send this through some telemedicine application, then we can easily find out such kind of lung cancer, for example. Okay, so this is the way that what I want to add that AI and deep learning technology, especially after the COVID-19, telemedicine application will be very effectively used. Okay, many areas used and maybe very helpful for the many persons, especially in the third world countries.
Okay, well, you know, the perspective in terms of processing data, I give you some insight. You all drink coffee, I assume. Most of you just had a cup of coffee, probably. But the world's most powerful computers can't yet model the caffeine molecule. So that puts it in perspective. And we've got a horizon coming. We've got the Cerebus AI chip, which is 2.7 trillion transistors now. We've got the emergence of quantum computing. You know, what's your feeling? I mean, we should be in a good place as more, you know, so the event horizon of supercomputing and brute force computing is on its way. What are you thinking? You know, next 5 years, are we going to make some big breakthroughs, Salim, do you think, on the hard problems because we've got more compute?
Yeah, I think, you know, if you, just to your point, we have massive amounts of computational power coming. The easiest way to think about this is we're coming to a world of infinite storage and infinite computation, cloud computing, and we can leverage that quite a bit before even quantum comes online. One of our colleagues, Ralph Merkel, is working on thermodynamically reversible computation, using molecular bonds to do the computation, which means there's no heat involved. Yeah. And he thinks there's another 10 orders of Moore's law right there. Yeah. So there's incredible computational capability coming online. I think applying it in the way that Dr. Kim is doing and others is where the real key is. And what we've been focusing on in our EXO community is how do you then bring it into the real world and stop the old ways of thinking where people are still doing things in the very old way that we can leapfrog.
Yeah. Dr. Kim, what do you think? You know, the next technology horizon, is it good news?
Yeah, okay, I completely agree with you. And especially for AI, such kind of computing power will be, I think, dramatically increased, okay? But by applying as I said several times about telemedicine, for telemedicine applications, we send such kind of information to the hospitals in USA, Dubai, or any kind of some developed countries. So in such kind of countries, okay, computing power is not a big issue. Another very important thing is which kind of device we can send such kind of information, medical information, from Africa and from other countries. So in that way, very high development of the camera technology and such kind of low-cost device technology will be very effectively used for the telemedicine application, especially for the iridology. I don't know whether many of them know about the iridology. I'm one of the persons who have great confidence of iridology. Okay? In this case, if we provide the iris image, then from the iris image, a lot of pre-screening of the health condition can be done. In this case, if good camera system is done, then more accurate image can be sent from the many of them, very easy way, low-cost way. And it will be very helpful for improve some health condition for everybody in the world.
Because of course the majority of medical systems and structures focuses on cure rather than prevention. I mean, we're focusing on using this technology to get early insight, to see it coming. Brian, what are you excited about in terms of where this is going to go?
Well, I'm really excited about AI in medicine, which means that we can make generic solutions specific. I'm really about specific because every human is specific. And what we see is that for instance, with impact to the brain, so head injuries, we consider that every head injury is approximately the same. And by analysis of the National Football League in America, we find out that they're all different. Every impact is different. So the thing is that if we look at AI in medicine and MedTech, what it can do is add the intelligence to it and discover way more than we ever think, because the human is predefined. We have a hammer and we see everything as a nail. And this is also how it happens in medicine a lot. You have cancer, we have a therapy for that, boom, right? It's not as simple as that. And we can solve a lot by AI in MedTech and medicine, so yeah.
Okay, well, look, we don't have much time left, unfortunately, because I'm sure we could carry on with this for hours. Predictions, always a classical way to end a conversation. Where are we going to be in 10 years, Salim? Are we going to start living longer because AI is helping us?
Well, let me say something rather dramatic, and I'll speak more about this tomorrow. We recently came across a brain bank coming out of MIT that has solved the problem, how do you preserve the brain fully after death? We are going to sponsor 5 terminally ill patients so that people can vote and see who should be preserved. If Stephen Hawking suddenly passed away, you'd want to preserve that brain. We now have full, complete brain preservation possible today. So there's unbelievable implications on the moral, ethical side. And our ecosystem is pushing that conversation because we have to have that conversation.
Yeah.
And we're not able to deal with it in general terms. And I'll speak more about that tomorrow.
So, well, I can't wait. That's exciting. Dr. Kim, where's it going to be in 10 years? What breakthroughs can you see?
I think, in my opinion, especially in the medical application areas, diagnostics, especially all the diagnostics, most of them will be done by the AI and deep learning technology. And in the case, which kind of device is used to provide for such kind of diagnosis?
Yeah.
I think that may be very, very important.
Yeah.
But still, I think some surgery or such kind of thing, even after 10 years, it should be done by the expert.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So diagnosis part is surely
But we still
done.
need humans to read the results, don't
That's
we, to
right.
make the judgment.
That.
Brian, last word.
Well, I think that we cannot do without AI in MedTech or medicine.
Look, I
Pretty
think AI is completely misunderstood.
No,
by,
the reason for it is that medicine and MedTech is not for anyone. At the moment, 35% of the world has access to great healthcare.
Yeah.
65% is left out.
Yeah.
And that 65% we can tackle with technology and make it affordable to anyone.
And telemedicine, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. We're out of time, unfortunately. Thanks for your attention, and let's have a hand for the experts in the room.
Thank you.